Right, aloha everybody. Hopefully everybody can see me. I love seeing all of the great stuff in the chat. There's folks like telling us where you're from. We have somebody all the way from New Zealand who's finally getting to join us live for the first time. Folks from the Netherlands, from Wales, all over, and of course all over the United States as well, which is really exciting. So super excited. Let's see here. I am just making sure I've got everything so I can see everything. I have my laptop over here so I can still kind of look at the chat and figure everything all out. So hopefully you can hear me and everything is sounding really good. Welcome to our holiday chord melody special. We decided instead of a jam that we wanted to just do another teaching thing. So maybe we'll do a holiday jam next year because there's so many great holiday songs. That's the thing about this time of year. I feel like there's just a lot of great music. So, alrighty. Oh, yay. Folks from all over. Now, thank you guys so much for supporting our live streams. This is the last one of the year, folks. So super excited about that. Last one, and then we're already starting to plan next year's ones already. So we already know January, once we solidify the date, January is going to be a sort of like practice and goal setting one. We try to kind of do that so we have a nice reset every year. Because it's important to kind of think about the different things that you want to try to achieve in, 2023. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. And then Cameron will also be turning 3. Craig and I all wanted to say a quick thank you to all of the parents out there that have sent us advice and condolences for the terrible 2s. We're going to be hitting the 3-year-old stage, and he is a delight and a joy, and I feel really lucky that he's our little guy. Let's see, what else? Oh, tomorrow, don't forget, we do have our live premiere of our second backyard concert featuring John Yamasato and Herb Ota Jr. Those guys, oh man, their concert's really fun. And I think one of the things I enjoy about it is it really is a live show. Like and you can feel it in this one for sure. So I think that you guys will really enjoy it. It is available after the fact. So the live premiere is in 1080, and then afterward the recording is in 4K. So, but if you join us for the live premiere and you are in the live chat with us, you are instantly entered to win some goodies. So we've got goodies from Hawaiian Host, GHS Strings, as well as CDs from the artists, and we actually have some CDs from Niue, our first concert, that we will also be giving away too. So it's going to be really fun. So if you can join us for the live, of course, definitely do so. But if you can't, don't worry. It's still going to be there. And don't forget to go to our website, craigandsarah.com/backyard, and you can get the digital program. It's totally free. So definitely check that out for sure. Yep. That's making sure everybody's looking. Aw, so many people saying happy holidays in the chat. This is fantastic. So let's see here. So that is tomorrow's concert, and it premieres at 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time on YouTube. And then the link for it is actually on that craigandsarah.com/backyard. And then Artist Work students, don't forget, we have a new 30-day challenge. It is up and running, and it's our holiday challenge where you get to share your favorite holiday song with us. And you can share stories with us. You get bonus points if you are dressed up or if your background is all cute and dressed up like ours. We just want you to just be able to share. It's always nice to, and you can also, if you're showing us a new technique you've been working on or something, let us know that in your video as well. So there's that 30-day challenge. Also, Mika Kane's special lesson just for our Artist Work students is actually up and running. I got the email yesterday that got uploaded. So that's going to be under lessons, and then you'll click on guest instructors. And that's also where our monthly Zoom check-ins are too. So we record those monthly Zoom check-ins, though we are not meeting in December just because the holiday stuff, it's a little too difficult to meet the last Sunday of the month, which is what we usually do. So don't worry, we're not having one in December, but you've got our holiday challenge, Mika's lesson, and then, Craig, in January, we are going to start having recitals for the Artist Work students. So there's going to be more details about that in January. So really excited about that, getting to see more from our students, of course. And also, you may or may not have seen it, we have got a new string set. We now have completed our string journey, I think. We've got, of course, the high G, the low G, the bari tenor, which is reentrant baritone tuning for a tenor ukulele. So reentrant baritone meaning DGB-A, but the D is high, and that's for tenor. But we've had many requests for baritone tuning linear for a tenor uke, and we've finally got one. So you can order that from our website if you want to try out baritone tuning, but you don't want to buy a baritone, you want to play it on your tenor uke, we've got you covered now. So we're excited about that. And then we've got some really cool stuff lined up for 2023 already. Our Hawaii retreat is sold out, but that one is going to be in March of 2023. Then in July, June.
Yeah, late July, August.
No. I was doing them in order. June, I believe, is we actually have the honor of doing. Sorry, I'm going to do one quick thing here to ensure that I don't have noise. So we have the honor of being able to do a big retreat with, or I guess it's a camp they're calling it, with Jake Shimabukuro, Herb Ota Jr., Brian Tolentino, Jeff Peterson, Bruce Shimabukuro, and I feel like I'm forgetting one person. But we get to join in and be a part of that. It's like 4 days, I believe. And you get master classes with Jake, and then you get classes with all of us. And it's really exciting. And it's going to be in Nashville. So that's going to be in June. Check it out. You can still get 10% off as long as you sign up before, I think, January 3rd or sometime in early January. And then next up in July 30th through August 3rd, we have our Long Beach retreat. I am thrilled. I know that some of you in the live chat, I recognize your names because you're going to be joining us for that retreat, and we are really excited. That one is just at halfway sold out. So there's not that many, because it's limited to like 40 people. So it's only a handful of slots really left. So we're really excited about that one, and hopefully you can join us for that. We're bringing Hawaii to you. So it's going to be Craig and I, of course, Brian Tolentino and Herb Ota Jr. And it's going to be a very intimate experience. And I don't think there's been anything like it. So I'm very excited about this.
Since coffee was mentioned, I have to
oh no
talk a little bit about my coffee journey, where I used to make fun of my dad growing up, drinking the instant coffee, which was so horrible. And then I went through my phase of, of course, the Starbucks super sugary drinks before school. Then in college, started getting a French press, and all the way about picking your beans and roasting them and all that kind of stuff. It was fun. It was great. And then we started traveling 7-8 months out of the year. And then I realized I wanted the best tasting instant coffee.
Oh God.
It was so much easier to bring little packets, right? And
when we traveled, it was way easier.
Yeah, most people had the kettles in the hotel rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and this is the one I'm currently on.
But it's not the best one though.
Yeah, there's
two that you like.
There's these the instant frozen Kona coffee.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, super good. But it's just so much easier. So I went full circle. I had to apologize to my dad.
Oh yeah, you used to make fun of your dad for drinking instant.
So that's my coffee journey there.
Oh, Alice Benson. Hopefully that means Bob is there too. We miss you, Bob and Alice. Yes, I miss having tea time with you folks.
Oh my gosh. And we do have a bunch of thank yous, that we want to give out for this year especially. It's just the last couple years has been a huge transition for us, not only location wise, from San Diego to Hawaii, but family wise with Cameron, but also a lot of things that we're doing differently now. And we can't thank you guys enough for your support and for coming to our live streams, from helping us with our concerts that we've been putting on. It means the world. It really does. And I'll be the first to say we can't do this on our own. So we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, for all of your support through the years. And we are very excited to start traveling again next year. It's going to be again another year of transition, and it's going to be Cameron's first flights since he was born.
Yeah. The only flight he's ever had was moving out here.
Yeah. So we're really excited for the future. We have a bunch of things new planned. We'll get to some of that a little bit later, but it really is, as we keep saying, the ukulele community is very, very special. So thank you for being a part of it. Let's see. And we do have a few minutes before we officially start. Were there any questions that we could help answer while we have some free time together? Whether it's ukulele related. I know there were some questions on email about our string sets.
I already talked about the string set some, so I don't know if I answered those questions. You'll have to double check.
So one of the questions, or a couple of them, were, do you have to readjust the nut? No, I don't have for our high G, low G sets, the nut is going to be fine. For the reentrant or the linear barytenor strings, those are a tiny bit thicker. Sometimes the nut will be fine. Sometimes, you will want to widen them a little bit. So what I would suggest, though, if you do want to test out our barytenor strings, and again, creating a tenor sound on your ukulele or tenor ukulele, put them on first. And they might not sit exactly right on the nut, but you'll get a feel for how they sound and feel. And then you can make that decision to have a luthier widen that a little bit just to make it perfect. Because again, you pretty much are transforming one of your spare tenors into a baritone, which is fantastic. So again, it's perfect if you have, a tenor lying around that you just haven't been playing, or you really are interested in getting that nice baritone sound with a tenor scale. So that I want to make sure we touched upon that.
So I want to say, actually, Mike, you and I have actually exchanged a couple of emails where I said, hey, we're going to have this low D string set available so you don't have to buy a baritone. And he said his wife would be ecstatic. So yes, you can actually order them from us. We do send them to the UK. But if Matt Stead is watching... I'm due to send you an email because I know that you've wanted to carry our strings, and he's in the Forest of Dean. That's the uke room. And I'm going to send him a note because I'm also going to see if I can send him a strap order as well, because he used to carry our straps.
And we'll also reach out to Southern Uke Store.
And Southern Uke Store, really too. That's true. Yeah.
We'll see if they're interested in picking up
Rob,
some.
I know, would probably get the strings from us for sure. I know they've got a lot of strap stuff already. But I bet you that Southern Uke Store in Bournemouth would be able to get strings.
Yeah, Larry,
in there.
our brand new set is actually a low D tuning for the tenor. So yes.
So we have low D for tenor, high D for tenor, high G for tenor or concert, and low G for tenor or concert. So we've got, sorry, soprano players.
Yeah, and again, you can always buy a brand new tenor ukulele to transform as well.
There's nothing wrong with that. And if you use the code Craig and Sarah, you could get 5% off your Kanilea. Just saying. Oh, you got to do it direct from them, though.
No plans yet for next year for the Pacific Northwest, but hopefully soon. Yeah, it'll be mostly California next year. And then we'll start. I think we do actually have some ideas for 2024, so we'll let you guys know.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And also keep your eyes peeled on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already so you can get notifications when we put new videos up, because we did a really fun collaboration with Cynthia Lynn, and we've got one coming up with John Yamasato and Herboto Jr. too. So just keep your eyes peeled for that, because we're starting to actually play music so you can hear us play instead of just us featuring other folks and just teaching. So that's coming up.
Before we officially start, too, I did want to play a little promo of tomorrow's concert, because I'm sure a lot of you have heard her play before, but there is something magical that happens when you pair him up with John Yamasato. And John Yamasato is the lead singer and guitarist of Pure Heart, which was Jake Shimbabukuro's kind of original trio with Lopaka. Absolutely fantastic voice, and John has been a staple in the music community here in Hawaii too. So it was so amazing to have them both together. I just want to play this real short clip before we start with the workshop. But I really hope you guys can enjoy the concert tomorrow. It's gonna be fantastic.
I'm at a note like a steaming tree, foot to the floor in the driving rain. My head is aching and my mouth is dry. I've got a thirst only you can satisfy. I've got the bottle, bring me a cup, pop the cork and try. When you're empty, I'll fill you up. Drink it down till the sun comes up.
Oh, there we go. But yeah, it's gonna be a ton of fun tomorrow. We have some good giveaways in the live chat as well for tomorrow, which will be fun. And yeah, it was just a really fun concert. And you know, as Mike is saying too, if you guys ever need any kind of quote from us for your significant other on why you need an extra ukulele, just let us know, because you know, on your ukulele journey, having multiple instruments to widen your what do I say, your not just sound, but the amount of different tones that you can get, and these beautiful works of art as well, right? We can help you create any kind of excuse. It'll be fantastic. It'll be great. Just let us know. But again, if you're just tuning in, we will show everything from the packets up on screen to keep this available for free. If you do want to help support these live streams and workshops, you can purchase your own packet. But again, there's extra material in the Scholars Packet that also helps us give packets out to those who are still finding their way during this pandemic.
And don't forget to send us an email if you're like, hey, I can't afford a packet. Please send us an email. We will email you during this session.
Yes, but you know, everything helps. Pretty much, you know, the time that it takes to create these and kind of workshop them between us before it goes live. But we want to thank you guys so much again for your support. And here's Sarah, and I'll be in and out.
Yes.
I'll be monitoring the chat mostly for today, but thank you guys again for joining us. Here we go.
So there was somebody in the chat who had said, I'm stuck on a certain page trying to get the packet. Email us, cheemaisel@gmail.com, CHEEMAISEL@gmail.com, so that we can send you the packet during the live stream, and then you can always go back and pay for it later. That's fine, because we just want to make sure you're taken care of. So Phyllis, I saw you in the chat. Send us a quick note. I just sent out a packet to one person who emailed already, so definitely let us know. Okay, so chord, yes.
Sorry. Before we start, can you showcase the other uke for just a second?
Hold on. I've got cables, so this just takes me.
Sorry, just a quick.
This one?
So the Craig and Sarah Pro model that Kanilea is creating is based off of this version, which is that rainbow cedar top with that nice true relief on the corner for your forearm, which is that's so comfortable. And I think it's a Madagascar rosewood.
So you don't have to worry about like people in customs trying to take your instrument.
And I think it does come with the flower side port too, yeah?
Actually, I don't think so. I think I actually was. I don't think so. I don't know. You can ask, but I think that might be only on our model.
This is the latest one we got to try. I think there's gonna be a couple extra tweaks before it goes live, but that's kind of we're excited.
You see me at my computer. Here we go, Phyllis. It is sent. So you're taken care of. Multitasking. Yeah, but it does have the scoop, and then there's going to be the rosette is actually it's the full rosette. It doesn't say Craig and Sarah right here, but there is something on the 12th fret that signifies it's our model. So, yeah. All right, I'll put this guy back. Here we go. So chord melody. So chord melody. So there's a couple of rules to keep in mind. And what I'm doing with this class is I'm not necessarily teaching you the song per se. I'm trying to get you to work on a concept. So yes, in the end, there is an arrangement that you can play, but this is an arrangement that I expect you to change. So just keep that in mind as we go through. And there's two main rules that I kind of keep in my head whenever I'm doing a chord melody. The first one is the melody note needs to be the highest note in pitch in your chord. So, for example, if I've got a G chord happening in my music, and my melody note happens to be this B note, I can actually strum the whole G chord because my melody note is this. If, let's say, my chord listed is a G, but my melody note is also a G note, then I would need to strum to either just this G here, or if I play high G, I could actually go up and make sure that I really nail this so that you hear that note last. So that's what I would do if I have a G as my melody, or a G note as my melody, but the G chord is listed. So you'll notice that I only played 3 strings, or I strummed backwards and made sure to really showcase that one. So you didn't really hear the A string much. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully, that idea. So the concept-wise, it needs to be the highest note. The next thing is I say melody is king. If your chord, let's say, is a G in the song, and the melody note is a D note, but it's a high D note. It's not this D note, it's actually this D note. Well, you could play another inversion of the chord, meaning I could play another position of it and get it here. Or I can manipulate a chord potentially that I know if I can reach it and stretch up to the 5th fret with my pinky. If I find that this is easier for me than, say, going to this version. Another example of melody is king. Let's say that I have an F chord listed, right? But let's say my melody note is actually this note right here. Well, I have an F chord. This is, I guess I could do this, but man, that's hard. Well, what if I play the next position of F? The next position of F looks like this. It's 5, 5, 5, 3. But again, this note, I need this note right here on this A string. So what I would probably do is just bar this fret. And now I have the note that I need. But I hear you saying, hold on one second, I am tangled in cables. But I hear you saying, but Sarah, that's no longer an F chord. Well, it is. It's just an F chord that has a variant in it. You're actually technically playing an F major 6 chord. But it doesn't matter. You're playing an F chord and you're adding the melody note. And the name of it, as long as it's an F major of some kind, that's all that matters. A lot of times people get hung up on the name. Well, I got to know the name of it. No, you don't. You just need to know like the base of it. Okay, I know it's an F chord. I'm just going to add the melody note to it. And then you've got it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Okay? So that's something that we're going to end up doing as we manipulate the song that we're going to go through. So 2 main rules to remember. Your melody note needs to be the highest in pitch in your chord, and that melody is king. So if you, no matter what chord is listed, you have that chord and manipulate it so that you can stick the melody note in it somewhere if it's not already existing in your chord. Is that everybody okay with that as we move forward? Now,
Second, real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
What's up?
Okay, got it. Good.
Awesome. So one of the things that to also keep in mind is I am just showing you a basic way of going through and playing chord melody today. I am not adding in extra arpeggiations and extra flourishes. It's purely like we're getting the melody out and we're getting it done with the chords. Adding in extra stuff can come later once you have the basic arrangement under your fingers. Okay. I always find doing it this way is more helpful because then you're really solid with your melody and then you can start manipulating and changing things. Okay. So with those two things in mind, all right, I'm now going to pull up our worksheet. I'm on page 3. And we've got the Holly and the Ivy. We're going to start with this one. Nice, simple song. It is in 3/4 time. And with this guy, actually, before we even do the melody, I want to go through, I'm going to go back to page 1. I want to go through and actually make us play this song for a little bit. Just strumming the chords. It's in 3/4 time. So remember that, please. It's 3/4 time. And it... So if you see 2 chords listed, that means one of them's going to be 2 beats and one of them's going to be 1 beat, okay? And our very first measure, the G chord is 2 beats, the C chord is 1. Measure 2, you've got 4 beats of G. Then the next measure, you've got 2 beats of G, then 1 beat of C. Measure 4, you have 3 beats of D. Measure 5, you have 2 beats of E minor, 1 beat of B minor 7. And then this one's a little trickier. You have measure 6, 1 beat of A minor, and 2 beats of G. So that's the tricky one. And then we have 3 chords listed in measure 7. They each get 1 beat, so you get to make those changes quickly, and then you're back to G. Now this song, I wrote ×5 for the repeat. It actually repeats a bajillion times because you'll see that I have verses listed underneath, but what's in bold? The rising of the sun and the setting of the deer, or the running of the deer. So that actually happens in between every single verse. It's like a chorus, if you will. So keep that in mind. So now let's get our G's ready and let's give it a shot going nice and slow. 1, 2, the holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the woods, the holly bears the crown. Let's do it again. The holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. Nice. So you can see going through it, it's not a super hard song. Some of the transitions are a little tricky if you're not used to doing them. But with a little bit of practice, you'd be able to go through and play this song or play this phrase a bajillion times if you're wanting to actually sing all of the verses, including that little chorus. And this is actually one of my favorite Christmas melodies. I've always loved this song ever since, I think the first time I heard it, I was 10. And I've always really liked this tune. If I remember correctly, I think it's from medieval times, this melody. So it's a pretty old song. So continuing forward, let's actually look at the melody notes themselves. And page 3, you'll see here that I've got the melody tabbed underneath so that you can, if you don't read notation, it's okay. And you'll notice that we're sticking, most of the time we're down in this area, right? But there's a couple of places where we have to stretch up to the 7th fret and then a smaller stretch to the 5th. So let me go through and actually play these melody notes for you. And I'm going to just go ahead and go to the close-up of my hand already so you can kind of see what's going on. So here, I tend to actually hold the G chord, but for right now, I'm going to try to just focus on the notes. And so what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to hit the G note here for the word the, which is in my pickup. Oh, and I think I just saw somebody ask for packet in the emails. Craig. Okay. And I emailed us the packet too, Craig. So here we go with the, and then open G, holly and. So I love that, the holly and, because you can just go back and forth and you get the notes ringing nice and long. If you play low G, you're just going to end up on this string, the holly and, because you don't have the secondary G. So the holly and. Now I need to jump up to the 7th fret. I'm just going to use my pinky. for now. And then maybe my ring for the 5th, I move it down to the 2nd fret, V, put my ring back down, and then go back to when they are both, jump up to the 7, fall back down to the 5th, groan. This is quick, going from 5 to 3, so I'm just going to do the of, or you could pull it off if you're just doing single notes, of, and then go down to the 2nd fret, all, open A, the, open G, trees, 2nd fret, that are, and then the open E string in the, and then the 2nd fret, woods, open G, open A, and then the 2nd fret of the A string, holly bears, open the crown. And you'll see there's another 3 listed there because that is taking us back if we're repeating it. Let's try to repeat it again. The holly and jump up, the ivy, again, when they are both 7th fret, all grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. Yeah. So it's important, I feel, to really take a moment and learn your melody on its own for a bit so that then you know where those notes are, and then you can start kind of looking at, okay, well, what chords should I be using? And then you can start adding in your chords. So for me, step 1, strum through the song. Know when the chord changes happen. Step 2, learn the single melody notes on its own. That way you can be confident in where those melody notes lie on the fretboard of your instrument. But we don't have time for you to just practice this single note thing a whole bunch. So we're going to just go ahead and move on to step 3, which is getting a chord bank and figuring out where you want to play notes and which inversions you want to use. But before I get there, there's something that I want to point out that's written in the packet, which is deciding where you want to play the notes. And I'm going to do a little back eye there. It's important to really think about where you want to play those notes. And the ukulele, one of the things that makes it more difficult than, say, a piano is that you have multiple places that you can play the same notes. And so it can be daunting kind of going, well, where am I going to play that? Like, for example, I state in there, you know, you can play your G here. If you're playing high G, you can play it here. You can also play it here. And they each have a different sound or different timbre. So you might choose to play the G here because you like how that sounds versus. So you've got to spend some time kind of listening and seeing which one you want, and also where are you going? If I'm going from a G note to an A note, I might choose my open one because I can have those 2 notes kind of ringing together, or maybe I want to do it here. Or maybe I want to do, because I can play the A note somewhere else, maybe I do there. So this is all stuff that you're going to have to kind of think about. And also, the other thing to also consider again is, do you want to have a full chord sound? If you do, then you'll end up playing more of your melody notes on the A string and sometimes the E string. So something else to also consider. And as well as song tempo, you may decide that you need to play the notes at a closer proximity because you're playing the song real fast. So keep that in mind too. All right, choosing your chords. I've given us a chord bank. And you'll see that I've given us a couple of different options. And I'm keeping us, I kind of did some of the work for you where it's like, I know that I'm only going to be within like this specific range with these chords. Now, I want to point out, because it might be hard to see on screen, so I'm going to zoom in for just a second for those of you that need it. You can see here that I've got underneath the standard G, I have 2 different G's listed. The first one is actually open 775. So this is a way that you can play that G chord that's next to it, but open. So I'll hold 5, 5, 5. sorry, 7, 7, 7, 5 versus, okay. So if you play high G, you can totally get away with playing that first one. Low G, I feel like it sounds a little, it's just a little strange having that wide chord. But if you like that sound, you can totally play that. That's not a problem. I did the same thing with our Cs. You've got regular C, then I have C in another place right here. And actually, I should just do the close-up. C, or I can remove my ring and I can have that open. And then there's also barring the 7th fret and putting what should remind you of F underneath it versus what looks like G. Again, the first one where it's all closed, and then the next one, right? Now with D, I can't necessarily do those tricks with D because that G note isn't going to quite work. So it would be a regular D, or I could play this D, or I could play up on the 5th fret. It should remind you of that C, which should also remind you of B flat. Yeah, this is an important chord shape. If you hate B flat, you're going to want to keep working on it because it's a really nice one you can move around. Then I have some different versions of D7 that we might run into. This guy, that one, and then the one on the 5th fret, you'll see the 5 that's written there. Like that, okay? So keep those things in mind. Whoop, there we go. As we are looking at these songs. And then you'll see at the bottom I gave you A minor and B minor 7. You're only going to play those in the first position. So I just, instead of wasting space and giving you those extra chords, I just said, you'll be fine with those. The last set of chords that are on the page in that little graph thing are E minor versus E minor 7. So E minor chord, this guy. Sometimes getting to this chord can be difficult for people. And I find for myself that sometimes I can replace it with this E minor 7 chord, like that. So I will zoom in. Is it okay if I zoom in on my hand? So here we go. Sometimes if I do this or play it like this, it doesn't really matter. Kind of depends on what chord I'm playing before or after. So regular E minor or E minor 7. They sound really similar. And you can sometimes replace the E minor with an E minor 7 if that's easier for you to get to. So keep that in mind with other songs, not just this one. So with this in mind, just going through and doing, let me move this up. There we go. Just going through and playing the melody and picking out chord inversions. Here's the first set of inversions that I did. And I'm trying to kind of make it so that it's like very clear cut. Like I'm going to use the 3rd position of this chord and I'm going to use the 2nd position of this. So you'll notice that I have tablature on the bottom. You have the notation, of course, music notation in the middle. But on top, I actually gave you the chord shapes because sometimes looking at tablature, you don't see the shape right away. Because the G, you'll notice, doesn't have the first G and then another G inside. They don't have any chord diagrams listed because I'm just picking single notes. So that's why I didn't do that. And I decided not to clutter it by adding in the picking there. So let's take a look at this particular one. So I've got my 3rd fret, the holly, and now I need to jump up to the 7th fret and hold this guy, the. So let's try that again, and I'm going to do my close-up. So again, the holly, and move up to the 7th fret, the. And then I have the 5th fret G listed, where I'm actually doing all closed chords. So again, it's the, I, the, and I get to move down to a G. Let's try that phrase one more time. The holly, and jump up to 7. The 5th and 7th, I, right to the G, you know. And then the picking again. When they are both, jump up high to the 7th fret. And then a D chord here. Groan. I'm holding that 5th fret D chord. Of. That's for that part. Again, that very last, those 2 eighth notes, slide down and pick a single 3rd fret. Okay, let's try that whole first phrase. 2, 3, the holly, and jump up. The 5th fret, I, down to the G you know. Picking again. When they are both, jump up. 7, 4, 5th, D7, or sorry, D, of, and then it would move on to the E minor next. All the trees, but we'll get there later. Right now, we're gonna just focus on that first line, okay? So this is one version that I have created and come up with. Let's look at another one, okay? So again, I'm just taking you through different versions of ways that you could approach this. This particular one, I'm making sure I'm using closed chords, except for that one G that has the open G string, of course. And I am trying to be very sort of by the book on this one. So continuing on, let's try another way of playing it. So I found that for myself, if I can hold a chord and hold that same pattern and just shift it up, it makes moving a lot easier, because holding the G chord and plucking and then having to come up here and do this bar chord, it's doable, especially because the song isn't super fast, but it's, I don't know, it's just not as efficient. I feel like we could be more efficient with it. So you remember that there is a C chord on the 7th fret that looks like a G, right? We did one, it has an open G note. So I just want you to practice holding the G, move it up to 7, move it back down, move it back up, move it back down, move it back up, move it back down. Not too bad, right? It's a lot easier than trying to do this guy. And it doesn't really sound that different. So why not? So we've got that change. The other change I did was I said, you know what? I don't like holding this G chord like this. I want to try the one that has the open G string. So we're going to try that guy out, which I think is easier to get to. So let me actually do my close-up, because if I'm holding the C chord, I just take this finger, it slides down, it's already on the correct string, and I add 2 fingers. So again, going back to that C on the 7th and 8th fret, my ring slides down, and then I add 2 fingers. And then this ring slides down, and then I can go to the G, right? So that makes that, I feel, a lot easier. Then you have that C, you have the jump back up to the 7th fret, and then instead of going to this D7 or D, I'm going to actually go to D7 instead. And the beautiful thing about this is I actually have a melody note on my G string of, so I can actually stay in this place. So again, that's measure 4 I'm referring to. Let's go back to the end of measure 3 where I'm holding the C, and then bar, make that D7 chord instead of a D. Strum it one more time, and then just hit the G string. Let's play this whole phrase real slow. So get your G ready. Here we go. The holly and 7th fret. Slide, add 2 fingers. I move it down to G. And then we're picking again. When they are both, slide up. D7 now, grown of, right? This is beautiful and I think easier to play. And I think Craig has something he wants to add.
Well, one thing that I want, you know, because again, thinking back of when we started and the things that gave us trouble, one of the things I want you to focus on when you're doing that big slide with that G
Which
shape.
One? Yeah, this guy.
Notice in slow motion that Sarah is actually relieving some of that tension to slide up, right? Because a lot of times if you're squeezing too hard, it's not, you're gonna
Like
get
that?
like that crazy,
Yeah.
almost comedic kind of slide going up, but also you might get stuck on the frets.
This is true.
So again, if you start to do it one more time slow motion, and you see how she kind of cuts off that sound before sliding just a hair, just enough to get that really clean kind of jump, because we don't necessarily want that whole slide to ring out. Unless we're
The
doing like
Holly
an
and
80s like rock version.
V.I.V., right?
But I just want to mention that, because that is one thing that
Yeah.
I started doing when I was first started was gripping way too hard, and
Yep.
you'd hear every slide or get stuck between frets. I just wanted to mention that.
And you'll also start to notice that I like to try to keep a finger on the fretboard whenever possible. Now that finger or fingers do not need to be applying pressure, but they need to still be on the board. So when I'm talking about you move from this and then you slide this finger down and then you add 2 and then take this guy, slide him down, I'm making sure that I'm not keeping it fully pressed down unless I'm wanting that kind of slide sound. Sometimes I do. But for this song, it's just I'm relieving enough pressure, but I can still move around my fretboard and slide around. And I call these anchor fingers. They're letting me know like where I'm at on my fretboard. And I always think it's important to try to find those, even when you're just strumming songs, because it allows you to be more efficient and get through your chord changes looking more fluid, and feeling more fluid too for your fingers. So keep that in mind as you go through this, okay? Now, this version sounds really nice. I like it, but I did one more because I simplified it even more, because there's one chord, and I know in particular you really don't need to get to. So let's keep moving forward. So that particular version I really liked because it really showcases the use of your high G instrument melody notes, so that you're not always thinking, oh, I have to put them on the A string. Now, if you are playing low G, you will have to change how you play a little bit, because that's not the same note for you. So again, you'd have to do, and probably do the closed version, right? So again, keep that in mind. Now, you'll see I have another version of this. And in this one, I'm going to actually draw a dot, because the program I use a program called Guitar Pro, and that's how I'm creating the music notation and the tablature and those chord diagrams. And it doesn't always write the diagram exactly how I want it. So that G5 chord, I'm actually still holding the G chord under it. So okay, there we go. So I actually still hold this, but I stretch my pinky up to the 5th fret. If this stretch is too much for you, you can take away this finger, and you'll find that you can actually make the stretch a little bit easier. But it's something that you're going to have to do this in the song with this particular version. So I would just make this a warm-up exercise for yourself if it's difficult, where you just go back and forth with your pinky. Or if you have a pinky that doesn't listen to you, which is also very common, this is a great warm-up exercise where you're just doing little reps with your pinky. And you could try it on the 4th fret first if you have trouble with the stretch, and then just jump back and forth between 4 and 5. And I find that that can be really, really helpful if you're trying to train your fingers. So looking at this, we've got a couple of new things. The first one is we're doing the G, of course, and then jump up here, move the whole shape down, and then add your pinky, and then take it away. Let's try that together. Move up to the 7, move it down, and then add a friend. Take that friend away. Nice and full still. Again. 7th fret, and then move it down and add a friend. And then you're in place and beautiful for here. 7th fret. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm actually thinking ahead to the actual next line, which is that E minor, that I know is actually going to be on that 2nd fret. So I'm going to actually play the D here, where I have my pinky and I'm barring. And that note's right there. Right there, right? And this actually forms a D7 chord if you were wanting to to strum it. You could actually. And then you would change the little diagram that I have written there. But and then that all the trees that are in the woods. So let's go through and play 1 through 4. Here we go. The holly and jump up to 7. The ivy again. When they are both 7th fret, 4, and then barring that D7 groan of. Yeah, I love this. Yes, Craig has something he wants to add. And then put yourself on screen. And make sure you're not muted.
Oh,
that's me.
Listen, little different today. So one really quick thing too, if you're struggling on getting to that 7th fret really, really quickly, don't forget if you have that high G. While I'm hitting that last high G, I can already start moving, right? So it just gives you a little bit more time because again, that is a big jump, and especially if you're not used to jumping that far in a short period of time, give yourself more time by starting a little bit early. See, we're already by the time I'm hitting that open G, I'm already exactly where I need to be. Okay, that's it.
And if you were reading the text in the packet, you'll actually see I wrote that. Thank you for reminding us that I had actually said that. It says, one thing I like about this version, it's right above it, is that you got your G shape happening and you can actually, you've got the shape, you just slide it up. Oh, you know what? Actually, I thought I had written it somewhere because I did notice that like you can move up during that shape. So maybe it wasn't written there. Maybe it's written somewhere else. Whatever. It's still great advice. Thank you, Craig. So... all right, so that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that one. I think we're going to end up landing on that version, but the other two are still fully available to you, and you can manipulate them and switch them up because that's the beauty of this class, is showing you different approaches that you can take, and you can do it however you would like, as long as, again, your melody note is the highest note in your chord, and that you can really solidly hear the melody. You can kind of do whatever you want. Continuing on, let's look at the next version. Oh my gosh, is that Bettina? I feel like we haven't seen you in forever. Aloha from Aloha, Germany. So good to see you. Okay, the second half. So here I've got an E minor. I like to pull off to that, but you could pluck it if you wanted, okay? And I'm using this the E minor that has the open G string. There's another E minor that you could do like this, but why? Especially because I can come back to my high G for the word trees. Now, after I've pulled off, I'm actually starting to get kind of hovering and prepping because I know that the words that are is going to be a bard. And you can do 2 strums like I've written, or you could do strum and a pick. That's fine. Sometimes when I have 8th notes, I'll strum and then pick it versus doing 2 strums in a row. It's up to you. I wrote 2 strums, but you don't have to play it that way. And then you'll notice for the A minor, there's X's listed. I'll circle those. Woo. Do not play those strings. You're just going to pick the 2 inner ones. Because the melody note is this note, and this is a lower note. So you hear that high note as your melody, and then the 2nd fret of the C string for woods, and then open G, open A. So let's just try measures 5 and 6. Here we go. E minor, I'll pull off the G string, that are 2 middle strings in the, and then 2nd fret of the C, G and A, and then it's an E minor chord, and then I have to hit this 3rd fret on the A string, and then G. D7 that has the melody note in it would be our very first D7 that I have listed, with that open A, and then back to G. But when we go back to G, I only play 3 strings. Now I could go backwards if I wanted to. But for now, I'm just doing it this way. Let's try measures 7 and 8, which is the E minor G D7 area. So here we go. Holly, or holly bears the crown. Let's do measures 5 through 8. All the trees, bar the 2nd fret, that are 2 middle strings in the woods. G and A, E minor, G, the D7, and then back to G with 3 strings. Yeah, I like that. That sounds really nice. Sometimes that E minor can feel a little clunky, so you could try E minor 7 instead, which is what I have down here. And that's the only change I made, because this line I think is easier than the first line of the song. So let's look at E minor 7 now instead. So I have, or I could hold it this way, but I tend to like to hold E minor 7 this way with my middle and my ring. So, but you can do either way. So here I have all the trees, and then bar that are, and then 2 middle strings in the woods, and then here, and notice I can keep holding that because that ring finger is just hopping over. So I really like it for this part. And then D7 and back to the G. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. So Craig had just said you could use your pinky there instead. You could, instead of using this guy and making him do all the work, you could make your pinky do something. Like that, and then do your G, and then the D7, and then back to the G. Yeah.
You could probably even just hold the G.
Well, honestly, that is true. So the other thing that Craig is saying is you could just hold the G there instead of the E minor 7. You absolutely could. You could totally just go, right? Like, it's really not a big deal.
I didn't hear that E minor 7.
Right, I didn't hear that E. I want to hear that E note. Because that's what you're missing, is when you're playing the G, you just don't hear that E note. But whatever, if you got a bass player with you, they're going to play the E. So it doesn't matter. So one thing to keep in mind is sometimes you'll find chords that you're like, oh, those are really similar, like E minor 7 and G. And you might find that you're like, well, E minor 7 looks like a G6 chord. Yes, it does. So E minor is the relative minor of G, meaning that they actually share the exact same scale notes. So if you know your G major scale, start that scale on an E note instead and play all the same notes, but go from E to E instead, and you got your E minor scale. So they're gonna be chords that look similar, and it's because they're related to each other in some form or fashion. And so that's why sometimes you can get away with saying, I'm gonna just play G this whole time. You can. It's actually not gonna be a big deal. So nice. Yeah, I love everybody's got such great comments. And I love that some people haven't heard this one. Yes, it's a real old English song. So, yeah, it's beautiful. Lots of, when choirs sing it, it's really gorgeous. So let's actually play the whole song. Here we go. All right, so you'll see that I took what we did from the final version of our first line, and then I did that second version with E minor 7 in it. You could play the E minor chord if you'd rather, or you could just play G. So here we go. And I'll do the close-up so that you can follow along with my hands. Here we go with the picking. The holly and jump up. The ivy. When they are both jump up, full, jump back down, grown. Of all the trees that are in the woods, the holly bears the crown. Let's try it again. 7th fret, move it down. Again. Jump up. Jump back down. And then move it. Then the B minor, singles. How pretty. I love this song. And because it's done a bajillion times, if you're just doing chord melody, you can actually start kind of adding differently. Let's see if I can do it on the fly. So, see. So I'm actually changing my melody slightly and adding in a little pickings here and there. You can start doing that kind of stuff once you know the melody really well. That way you can always go back to the melody, right? So again, if you had to solo over this and you wanted to try to do a chord melody style type thing, you could always change it a little bit, but make sure you're solid with that melody first. Okay? Now, moving ahead, I actually did another version of it because I always do. So this is something more like what I would probably play. Just when I would first glance at the song. And you'll notice I use some very different chords. So taking what we have learned from past live streams this year, we've talked a lot about substitution chords. And so I've added in some of these here. And so what you'll see here is I play a C6 instead of this C. Slightly different. I play this G6 chord instead of this chord instead of, and instead of G, if I can, I throw in G major 7. G versus G major 7. It has a slightly sadder sound. Okay, so I do that. I also play a D6 chord up here instead of just this chord. So I end up doing this and then playing full chords for those 2 eighth notes. And then this is the same. G major 7, and then the D7, and back to G. So I'll try to play this really slowly. If you want to try to follow, you certainly can. So I have, close up. The holly and thee, when they are both So yet another way that you can play this song. Again, purely showcasing. There's not one way to do chord melody. There's a multitude of ways. And the more tools you have in your toolbox, whether it's chord substitutions, arpeggiations, the more complex you can make your chord melodies. It's just like writing a book. If you're writing, I could write a novel, but it's not going to be as good as like a Stephen King novel because he's got a lot more tools in his tool belt than I do. Yes, Craig?
Is there a certain recorded version that you'd recommend people to find?
Actually, I don't have one in mind, to be quite honest, because all the versions I listened to sort of refresh my mind on this song were all like choirs. I love hearing choir like a cappella choirs sing this song. It's because it's just a beautiful melody, and then you hear them singing the chords together. So and that D6, somebody said, can you show me that one more time, that D6 chord? So that D6 chord, let me do a close-up, is here. I bar my 4th fret, I add my middle finger to the E and the A string, and then my ring comes over to the C. It's not easy, no. And then jumping down. Because this is 2 beats, that allows me time to then come down love this song. It's such a good song. Mm-hmm.
In terms of finger stretch and getting enough pressure on the second fret.
So if you're doing this here, you could potentially already have this finger prepped behind. So it's already there so that you don't have to worry about it, or just do a single note and don't worry about the staying barred because you don't need to have pressure here if you're just going to pick the note. It really, again, depends on the style that you like. Do you want to have a chord every single time, or do you want to have chord pick? Because that also is a really pretty style too. So I feel like in order to be able to get either one of those, it does take a little bit of practice. So yes, Joanna, just keep practicing and working on it a little bit. And also remember when you are doing bar chords, something that we talk a lot about is using counter pressure. So I'm not actually squeezing with my thumb at all. And I can just do it because I'm pulling the instrument into my body. And then this arm is holding it so that my instrument doesn't fly out and hit you in the face. Right. And then my thumb, when it does go back there again, is pointed up at the headstock and is a fret or two behind. And that gives me just this little extra leverage there so that it's, again, I'm forming a triangle as opposed to being directly behind that finger pinching. So I shouldn't feel anything here. I should feel it in my forearm when I'm doing a bar chord. Yeah. And it's great hearing. I liked how Bettina actually mentions in the chat that it's really nice hearing all of these different voicing, like different ways that you can play the same thing. And even when we were just utilizing the basic chords without all of this stuff happening on this page, it sounds different. So now moving on, everybody okay? So remembering again, melody note needs to be the highest note in your chord, and which might mean you don't play all the strings. And 2, melody is king. No matter what your chord name is, if there's a note, if your melody note is not found within your chord, you add it. You just figure out where to put that note in which inversion, and you add it. And yes, the name of your chord changes slightly, but don't sweat it. Okay? Now, I have angels we have moved on high. Or have heard on high. Angels we have moved on high. Angels we have heard on high. This is another great, large choir song. I like these guys. These are just fun songs. And I wonder if I should do that. There we go. Now it fits better. There we go. Okay. So this song, 4/4 time, there's some tricky spots in this one that are a lot of fun. I would love to just go through and play the basic version of this song real quick because we have a little bit of time. So we've got G chords, we got a D chord, we got an E minor chord, but you could play E minor 7. Remember that if you'd rather, because look at measure 5, you got a lot of jumping to do. You have a B7 chord, of course, an E7, A minor, and then a C. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Angels we have heard on high, to sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Whoops, sorry, 2, 3, measure 9. Gloria, G, in excelsis Deo. Again, Gloria, in excelsis Deo. And there's 8,000 verses to this song too. And if you ever had to do mass, like I did with my grandparents, the choir starts with only a couple people, and then it grows and the song becomes gigantic. And it's really lovely. So And then for those of you who are like, wait, hold on a second. So I got to celebrate all the holidays because half my family is Jewish and half of my family was Episcopalian. And so it was really kind of great growing up as a kid, celebrating all of the holidays. But that also meant that I would go to church and temple sometimes. So good times. So continuing forward, looking at this, you've got your bass chords, that measure 5, and the mountains. You could actually kind of cheat and just do and the mountains in D, D. Like you could cheat and just play a G chord during measure 5, but man, I love that build with all those chords. So just something to keep in mind. And I talk a little bit about that actually for those of you that have purchased the Scholar Packet. I don't know if you've already watched the video lesson for this, but I go through the chord melody that's actually at the end of this packet. Everybody has access to the chord melody tablature that's at the back of this packet, but the video lesson is for the Scholar Packet folks. So the reason for that is I've given you your song. I now have a chord bank for all of you, and these are the chords you'll probably most likely use. You can look up others because there's more than just what I have here, as you plainly remember from the Holly and the Ivy, where I threw in some other crazy chords. But you've got these chords as your potential options. And notice how I wrote little notes. Like, for example, in D7, I wrote, sometimes you can use D7 instead of D. And same with your E. Sometimes you can use E instead of E7. Hint, hint. So, as you are going through, so Craig liked my little hint there. Page 11, I have given you the tablature of where you'd probably play the notes, though again, it's not set in stone. You have those same chords listed above, and now it's your homework to fill this in. And I want to hear your version of this. If you're an Artist Work student, you can submit a video submission on this. Just put it in the Other Tunes category. You could probably also put it in the Holiday Challenge too if you wanted. Either place is fine. And I want to hear your version of this. If you're not one of our Artist Work students, find us on social media, record yourself playing it, and tag us in it. And we will watch it and we will enjoy it. So definitely, I want you to make your own. I've given you the tools you need. I've given you a chord bank. You've got the concepts. We've got the tablature here, and feel free to take this page and print out a bunch of copies because you're going to be scribbling all over it. And then, of course, if you want some help and you want to kind of look at what I did, then I've given you what I came up with. Okay. And for the Scholar Packet, if you were saying, hey, I want that video lesson, you can just, I think Craig is actually writing in the chat, email us, chimazel@gmail.com, and we'll walk you through upgrading your packet. That's not a problem at all. And that lesson's already up and live, so that when you get your packet, there's a link in it, you click on it. The Scholar Packet also comes with playback tracks, so you can actually practice at varying speeds, Angels We Have Heard on High and the Holly and the Ivy, so you can practice your chord melodies. And it goes through the song multiple times so that you have many chances to try. So that's the big thing, is Angels We Have Heard on High is really, really fun. I know you'll have a lot of fun playing it. You'll notice that in the version I tabbed out on page 12, I actually wrote the real names of the chords, right? Because you're like, wait, there's a sharp 5 in there. Yes, because the melody note happens to be the sharp 5 on measure 9. And then, G5 instead of just writing G, just so that you have the true name of the chord. But again, it's not really that important. It's just a G with a note added. It's just an E7 with a note added. So, and the note is the important note, the melody. So I really, really hope that you guys had a lot of fun and that now you feel inspired and empowered to be able to write your own chord melodies, knowing that there's not one way to do it. All right. So keep that in mind. And are there any questions for me before we wrap things up? Because this was a really fun class to teach. I have a feeling we'll probably do another variation of it with some more songs this coming year, because it's fun to be able to approach a song and show you different ways that you can approach it. So thank you guys so much. Oh, nice. In the UK, they call this one Ding Dong Merrily on High. I like that. This is so cool. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's like I know some songs really well, and then some I do not know very well. I know that da 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 da, but I don't actually know the words to that one. But I'm glad to see everybody's had a lot of fun with this. I saw some folks say light bulb, like there was some really good light bulb moments out there. So that's fantastic. Thank you all so much for supporting our live streams this year and for the years past, for supporting our backyard concerts, because I recognize your names. Many of you folks have supported us throughout everything, even prior when we were on the mainland touring and touring all over the world. So just we are incredibly grateful to all of you. And I just want to make sure that, you know that we are so grateful for all of you for being in our lives.
Whether, it's starting new things like the backyard concert series or even the mini fests, a couple of years ago, like everything that we tried to experiment with, you guys had our backs. So thank you so much again for your support. We hope you have a very safe holiday season.
And there's one quick question that I want to make sure I ask, because they wrote it in bold, probably to make sure I saw it in the chat. So no, I got you, Nora. So the couple of chords that I added, if I did add extra chords in there, I tried not to do that though. But if I did, it would be because it's passing through to another one. Yes, you are correct.
Yes, and again, if you love the workshop, please share it with others. That helps a ton.
It's free.
And tomorrow, again, make sure you download your free
digital program
for the concert tomorrow.
Yeah, there is a mini lesson on modulation in there, because the very first song that they play in the concert, they modulate 5 times, and I show you how you can do it with them. We also have songs, chord diagrams as well in there for some of the other songs that they play, and you can learn more about the songs they're playing and the artists themselves.
Awesome. Great job, Sarah.
Thanks. This is fun. I like teaching chord melody. It's a fun class.
But again, thank you guys so much. Happy holidays. Be safe.
Yes.
Stay inspired. And we'll see you in the new year.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha. Yay. Let's see.
Happy holiday.